Welcome into New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We got a loaded show coming up today for all of the real ones out there. Mike Kafka and Wink Martindale. Big news surrounding those two guys. We'll break that down. We'll also talk about Kadarius Toney maybe making the biggest play in the Super Bowl that led the Chiefs over the Philadelphia Eagles in Super Bowl 57. We'll touch on that Kadarius Toney trade and see maybe was it a mistake by Joe Shane. Give me a follow on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm following everybody back until I get to 3,000 followers. We're almost there. But the bulk of the show and the news of the day for Big Blue surfaces around Lawrence Cager, the unrestricted free agent tight end. Well, he's actually not going to be a free agent anymore. The New York Giants have re-signed Lawrence Cager, and he is going to be back with Big Blue for the 2023 season, or at least he's going to have an opportunity to compete for this 53-man roster. This is a guy that played in 7 games so far in his Giants career, 2 in the playoffs, had 15 receptions, 138 yards, a touchdown, 9.2 yards per catch. But it goes deeper than the stats for me with Lawrence Cager, because I see a guy in Cager who was once a wide receiver, turned into a tight end. He possesses all the skills you want in a modern-day tight end. And I had someone ask me and said, could he be the next Darren Waller, a guy that was once on the practice squad for the Baltimore Ravens? The Raiders then stole him under John Gruden. And I don't know if I want to go that far, but I do see some upside in a guy like Lawrence Cager. He's a very, very athletic tight end. He runs like a wide receiver. He's got great hands. He's got a big catch radius. And he possesses skills simply that Daniel Bellinger doesn't have. And I kind of like that 1-2 tight end duo of Bellinger as the inline blocker and a guy that can go over the middle and make some tough catches, while Lawrence Cager is more of your receiving tight end and more of like a Travis Kelce mold. Not saying he's like Kelce at all, but with Mike Kafka maybe back, could we see him be used in those ways that Kafka used Kelce? Cager is a guy, he can line up in the slot, he can line up outside. We saw him when he first came to the Giants. They used him as a deep threat. Then as he got more and more inclined and involved in this offense, they used him all over the field, and he had that touchdown. I'm a fan of Cager, and I'm happy he's back. I'm sure a lot of people are happy he's back as well. So let's show our guy, Mr. Cager, number 83, some love in the comments section. Type his jersey number down below, 83. I think it's a good move. You get a guy that's young, came up in the program, and another familiar face you get to bring back. Show some love to Lawrence Cager, number 83, in the comments section. And look, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when the Giants make a move, we get you guys a video as soon as possible. News, rumors, live shows once a week. We do it all. We put out more content than any other Giants YouTube channel out there, and we're on the cusp of getting to 25,000 subscribers. I want to thank everybody for the journey so far, but we're just getting rolling. Let's ride. Giants off-season coverage every single day. Subscribe. The biggest news maybe that happened around the New York Giants this weekend was the report that came out early Monday was that Mike Kafka is expected to be out of the running for the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job. And I feel bad. I don't want to celebrate Mike Kafka not getting the job, but selfishly, as a fan and a diehard of this football team, I'm kind of glad he didn't get the job, and I'm glad he's going to be back with Big Blue. This was Josh Weinfuss, is that how you say it, of ESPN. Sorry if I butchered your name. He quote tweeted Adam Schefter, who tweeted out Monday morning that Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon is expected to interview today for the Arizona Cardinals head coaching job per sources. And then Josh quote tweeted and said, adding to this, a source told me that the Cardinals have focused their head coaching search on Gannon from the Eagles and Bengals DC Lou Anarumo. The source also said Arizona could make a decision tonight. There was a lot of chatter and a lot of talk that maybe Mike Kafka could be the next head coach for Arizona. Andy Reid co-signed him and he vouched for him. So did Travis Kelce. But it sounds like, good thing for Giants fans, Mike Kafka will be back because he made an immediate difference in this offense. We've showed this graphic a couple of times, but I think it just really displays what Kafka was able to do. The stat that my eyes go to is the red zone TD percentage. The Giants before Kafka were dead last in that category, scoring just 44% of the time they got inside the 20-yard line, whereas with Kafka, they upped that to 63% of the time and were the 7th best red zone offense. Points per game went from 15.1 to 21.5, a whole touchdown above what it was and they averaged 70 more yards per game, 287 to 350. By no means was the Giants' offense electric, and did they produce a lot of big plays, but they took steps forward, and I think it was really just year one of what we're going to see. The biggest thing, though, was the camaraderie and the juice that he was able to squeeze out of Daniel Jones. I think Mike Kafka deserves a lot of credit for what Jones was able to do. I know we want to give that to Brian Daboll, but Jones, a guy that finally is going to have the same offensive coordinator for multiple years in a row, and due to success. Sure, he had Jason Garrett for a year and a half, but he never should have been brought back after that first year. He's going to have a reliable, creative, and good offensive coordinator for the second year in a row, and hopefully it elevates these stats we see on screen for Daniel Jones, where he had 15 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns, over 700 rushing yards, only 8 turnovers, really nipped that in the bud. And he also completed 67% of his passes and threw for 3,200 yards. He was electric against the Vikings in the playoff game. You're hoping that Mike Kafka can take another step in this offense with Daniel Jones by his side, as long as they get some more offensive line help and more receivers on the outside. If you're happy that Mike Kafka is back with Big Blue as their offensive coordinator, just type Kafka in the comment section. I'm happy about it. The last thing you want is consistent turnover at the coordinator spot. Maybe this is the last year that Kafka is the offensive coordinator for Big Blue. I think that kind of puts some pressure on the Giants with Kafka and Martindale, who we'll talk about in a second, got some buzz as head coaches in the offseason cycle. Maybe they get a job next year. Look, I hope they do. Good for them personally, but as long as they're with the Giants, I am absolutely going to be happy about it. We're going to get to Wink Martindale, Kadarius Toney coming up in a second. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/NFL Daily. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I was hired off of LinkedIn, and we hire people off of LinkedIn all the time here at Chat Sports. I also love that how easy it is to create a free job post on LinkedIn. You add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions makes it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/NFL Daily. That's linkedin.com/NFL Daily to post your job for free. The link is in the comments and description below. This is it, linkedin.com/NFL Daily. Shout out to them for sponsoring today's show. Get started with them if you're going to hire some people for your small business. Wink Martindale, could he be back? Yes, he will be, according to the least recent reports. Martindale has been told, unfortunately for him, I feel bad celebrating these guys, not getting the jobs and moving forward. But I'm just happy that we get to maintain, in my opinion, one of the best staffs in the NFL. Martindale was told he was out of the running for the Indianapolis Colts job. Mike Silver over the weekend reporting that Giants DC Don Wink Martindale has been told he's out of the running for the Colts head coach job. He was one of the candidates who interviewed twice. And I feel bad for Wink. He's an older guy. He's been around the NFL forever. He's talked about how bad he wants to be a head coach. And look, I hope one day these guys do get head coaching jobs. But I hope for a really long time they remain the coordinators of Big Blue. Getting both Mike Kafka and Wink Martindale back as coordinators in its offseason, where it seemed like at one point in time, Martindale was the betting favorite for the Colts job, and Kafka was going to be the next head coach job for the Cardinals. They're back, and you get to maintain that continuity that you built on defense with Wink Martindale. And the same goes for on offense with Mike Kafka. You get to take another step. You get to take advantage of this staff. You already have the coach of the year in Brian Daboll. That was announced this past offseason. I believe you got one of the best coaches in the NFL. I believe you got one of the best and youngest minds in Mike Kafka at offensive coordinator, and I believe you have a top defensive coordinator in Wink Martindale. The Giants have their staff set up in a spot where I think they need to go for it next year. I think they need to put a little bit more urgency into next year and try to really take advantage of this staff. So I'm going to tell you this much. Either Kafka or Martindale will not be the Giants' offensive or defensive coordinator in 2024. I think you need to capitalize while you do have maybe the best coordinators in place right now in the NFL. With Brian Daboll being named Coach of the Year and you're getting Kafka back and you're getting Martindale back, I want to show some love to this staff. As you know, I think this is one of the best staffs the Giants have had maybe since those Super Bowl runs in 2012 and 2017. And I just want us to appreciate what we got. If you are happy with this staff and you are proud that they're back and you're going to get behind them, go ahead, like this video right now. Show some love. Big, big, big news today for the Giants offensive coordinator as well as defensive coordinator. I did want to finish today's show talking about Kadarius Toney because I just didn't feel like it would be right to not talk about him, a guy that the Giants traded at the NFL trade deadline for a 3rd and 6th round pick for a guy that not only scored a touchdown that probably me or you could have scored, just beautiful play design, wide open. He had maybe the best punt return in Super Bowl history. I believe it was the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. There's never been one taken back to the house, and it was the game-changing play for the Kansas City Chiefs. Put the Chiefs right in scoring position. I believe it got them within the 5-yard line. And I think it now begs the question, should the Giants ever have traded Kadarius Toney? Because I got asked that question so many times on Twitter yesterday. Marshall, do you see what Toney's doing? His hamstrings look good. We shouldn't have traded him. Da-da-da-da-da. It was never a talent thing with Kadarius Toney. We knew that it was never about his ability. It was never about his way to play football. We knew he was one of the most talented people with the football in his hands. And look, I'm going to give you my take exactly on it in a second. But I want to ask this question first, and I want to see what y'all got to say before I tell you what I got to say. Was this a bad trade for the New York Football Giants? You know, I bet the Chiefs said they'd do it over and over again because he's now a Super Bowl hero forever in Kansas City. Was this a bad trade? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let me know what you think. For me, no, it was not a bad trade. It was never about the talent with Kadarius Toney. It was everything else. Did he want to be here? I don't know. Does he love football? I don't know. It's a lot easier to love football when you win football games like you do in Kansas City. At the end of the day, it was never going to work out with Kadarius Toney in New York. It didn't work out with Joe Judge. It didn't work out with Brian Daboll. I'm going to be honest with you. If you can't be a guy that loves to come to work every day with Brian Daboll as your head coach, I don't want you on my football team. Nobody loves football more than Brian Daboll. No one's more of a player coach than Daboll. And if Toney, couldn't get on his good side, that's more about him than the New York Football Giants. Do I wish we could have got more in the trade? Yeah. But it was the off-the-field stuff. It was the not showing up to the mandatory workouts. It was, we're on Toney's time, we're never on the Giants' time type of attitude. Look, he's a damn good football player. We know that. I just hope that Joe Schoen hits on those 3rd and 6th round picks we got for him. I would make the trade again tomorrow because I just don't believe he ever was going to work out here with Big Blue. I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the show today. Look, am I upset that Kadarius Toney had a good game? Yeah, but the Eagles lost, and he's a reason why, so good news for him. Give me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_. I'm following everybody back till I get to 3,000 followers over on Twitter.